Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're digging into some really powerful ideas about building a business.
Yeah, foundational truths, really.
Exactly. It's not just about, the hustle and grind. It goes deeper into understanding these different forces, different energies almost, and how to get genuinely ready for growth.
That's right. It's like unlocking a different level of the builder's manual.
Yeah, the real world manual.
And the principles we're exploring today offer this unique perspective on growth.
Mm,
They show how what's happening externally, the conditions, and your internal structure, well, they're deeply connected.
okay.
So we're going to unpack these core ideas, looking at how different environments influence your business rhythm, how to spot those influences, and importantly, how to build with them.
And what it really means to prepare for, scaling up, maybe even bringing partners in.
Precisely.
So, if you've ever felt that rhythm in your business shift, maybe things slowed down or sped up unexpectedly.
Or you've got great ideas, but they just kind of fizzle out.
Yeah. Or you're just wondering, am I really ready for that next big step? Then this deep dive is definitely for you.
Let's get into it.
Okay. So, the starting point here is this observation about recent business performance. Things were scaling up, going great, and then a bit of a dip.
Right. And what's interesting is the connection drawn between that shift in the numbers and a change in the underlying, well, let's call it the environment. The material uses terms like energy,
Okay. Like different phases.
sort of. It describes a previous period when things were swelling as being under uh, Mars energy associated with movement, aggression, maybe conquest, fast growth.
Right. Getting things done, moving forward.
Exactly. But now the feeling, the whole environment, it feels different. And it's linked to what's called Saturn energy.
Saturn energy. Okay, so not literal planets, but metaphors for the business climate.
Precisely. Think of them as ways to describe the dominant feel or the rules of the game for a particular period. Mars was about that forward push.
So what about Saturn? What does this Saturn energy reward according to this perspective?
Well, it seems it doesn't reward just outward action or aggression in the same way. It rewards structure,
Structure. Okay.
foundation, discipline. The results you get are different because the underlying push is different. It's a different kind of force.
And the key takeaway isn't just to notice this change and get blown around by it.
No, absolutely not. You're meant to actively work with it
How do you do that?
by observing, really paying attention to what feels unique or new about this period. Asking, okay, what is this environment trying to teach me?
So it's not random, it's like a reflection.
Exactly. A mirror showing you something you need to build or refine internally.
There was that example about noticing more time under the Saturn phase and deliberately using it to study, build a learning routine.
Yes, that's a perfect example. Or maybe the lesson comes through contrast, like the business dipping actually highlights the need for, say, consistent marketing systems now.
Ah, so the dip itself is the teacher.
Could be. The principle is identify what this energy, this environment emphasizes. Is it discipline? Is it new ideas popping up? Is it highlighting certain challenges? And then you intentionally build routines or systems around that.
So you're anchoring yourself, not just drifting, being deliberate.
Totally. You make a note, maybe even write it down. Okay, things feel different now.
Yeah.
Then you look for the clues. What's coming up? What feels needed?
Hmm.
And how can I work with this? There are tools mentioned, like reflection processes, to help pin this down.
Okay, so if the business performance dips, it's not game over. It's maybe the start of a lesson.
The beginning of a lesson. That's a powerful way to put it.
And tied into that is this idea of tension.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh,
If you feel tension in your business, the insight here is that it's not proof you're failing. It's proof you've actually identified a target. You're aiming for something.
wow. Okay. And the material says growth without pressure is fantasy.
Blunt, isn't it? Growth without pressure is fantasy. It
Yeah.
really reframes that feeling of stress or difficulty.
So the tension isn't a stop sign. It's more like a signpost showing the gap between here and there.
Exactly. You're not under attack, you're under instruction. The tension shows you where your goals are clashing with current reality, pushing you to figure out what needs to be built or changed.
Leads to pressure testing. Is that the term?
Yes, pressure testing. This is critical.
Tell me more about that. What does it mean in practice?
Well, the mature approach isn't to avoid pressure. It's actually to create it, to intentionally stress your systems.
Okay. Why would you do that?
You ask, what systems do I need to pressure right now until they break? The logic is simple. If it breaks under controlled testing now, when the stakes are relatively low.
It'll definitely shatter when real world scale hits.
Exactly. Better to find the weak points during your own experiment than when you've got, say, 500 customers a day relying on that system.
Right, that makes total sense. Discover the flaws before they become catastrophes.
Precisely. If the goal is that 500 customers a day target mentioned, you have to pressure test the existing infrastructure.
Yeah.
Can the order system handle it? Can fulfillment keep up? Can delivery stay consistent? You don't just hope. You manufacture the pressure to find out now.
So pressure isn't the enemy. It's actually it's the measure of readiness.
Fundamentally, yes.
Yeah.
And the trick is turning that pressure point, that tension, into actual planning, into building.
Okay, building. Let's talk about that. The material mentions those ideas that keep popping up: a new website feature, maybe delivery options, different packaging.
Right. And the insight is these aren't just random thoughts. They're framed as market feedback disguised as thought.
Market feedback disguises thought. I like that.
That means the market, your customers, the potential partners, they're telling you what's needed, often through the problems you find yourself mulling over.
But the idea itself isn't enough, is it?
Not even close. A brilliant idea is basically worthless without the system to support it and bring it to life. You can't just have the idea. You have to build the structure, the foundation, the frame, something solid that can handle growth and change.
It talks about shifting from being like a small local operation to a real commercial engine.
Yeah, and that shift relies on product and systems, not just more effort or more people.
The packaging example was really concrete.
Oh, absolutely. Your simple, maybe hand-done packaging might be fine for local walk-in traffic, right?
Sure.
But it instantly disqualifies you from bigger opportunities. Supermarkets, bulk orders. Why? Because it doesn't meet their standards. Maybe it can't be handled by machines. It's not cost-effective at scale.
So the packaging itself reflects your readiness or lack of it.
It reflects what you believe about your business's potential, essentially. If your packaging limits you, it's like saying, we're not actually set up for that bigger game.
But you want to be ready for that game. So the infrastructure, like scalable packaging, needs to align with that ambition.
That's exactly right. Infrastructure first. Build the road before the traffic jams up. Delivery is another perfect example.
People asking for doorstep delivery.
It's not just convenience. It's market feedback pointing towards a whole new potential business model.
Yeah.
But that model requires systems, robust ones.
Online ordering, fulfillment, managing the actual deliveries.
Right. It's called trust logistics. Every step either builds or breaks trust.
Trust logistics. Okay.
Can people order easily? Is the order right? Does it arrive on time? Is the product okay? Each step is a system touch point. Can you take orders consistently, fulfill accurately, deliver reliably? That's the bedrock of trust when you scale.
So the advice is build the website to actually take orders, not just look nice, and maybe even pilot delivery manually at first.
Yes, start small, but start. The value isn't just filling those first few orders, it's the data you get. You're testing the system, finding the kinks.
Learning what works and what doesn't.
Exactly. You build the infrastructure now, the ordering system, the fulfillment process, the delivery plan, so you're ready when demand ramps up. Don't wait. Build the plumbing before the flood comes.
And that mental shift is key.
How?
Stop calling them ideas. Call them systems.
That's such a powerful reframe, isn't it? If people want delivery, what's the system's daily capacity? If supermarkets need different packaging, what are the system requirements, specs, costs, equipment?
It forces you into blueprint mode, calling suppliers, figuring out logistics.
Detailing it all out.
Yeah.
Maybe even creating different tiers for different markets. Moving beyond one size fits all.
So being commercial ready, it sounds less about your current size and more about your behavior, your structure.
Totally. It's about being transparent, professional, disciplined, repeatable. Can your processes hold up under scrutiny? Can they be replicated reliably? That's commercial readiness.
There's a line about that, something like,
Every action that works must become a system. If it's not written, it's not real. If it's not repeatable, it's not ready. If it's not tested under pressure, it won't survive expansion. Pretty clear.
Very clear. Okay, so all this building, getting commercially ready, it often needs resources, right? Maybe investments, strong partnerships. The material touches on financial structures too.
It does, and that ties right back to valuing relationships and support. The core idea is, if someone is genuinely helping you build strategically, energetically, structurally, they should participate in the growth they help create.
Makes sense. But how? It mentions equity versus revenue share.
Yes, and it draws a really important distinction, equity.
Mm.
Well, that's described as the deep end. Big legal stuff, contracts, oversight, liability, costs. It's like the marriage that comes after the relationship is proven.
Okay. So what's revenue share then?
Simpler. especially early on. More like paying a commission or a fee based directly on results. It's tied to performance, fewer upfront legal knots.
And the model proposed starts low and increases, capped at, was it 10%?
Correct, 10% cap. And crucially, it's a percentage of revenue. Top line.
Not profit.
Right. That makes it much more predictable and manageable as you grow. It's positioned not like a tax, but as investing in the very support and infrastructure that's fueling the growth.
Got it. There was also mention of a finder's fee if outside funding comes in.
Yeah, the thinking is straightforward. If outside investors put capital into the business and the strategic positioning or support framework helped attract that capital, then a finder's fee is appropriate. Standard practice, really. 3% was mentioned as a possibility.
Okay. And then there's this really interesting future step where you become an investor.
By bringing others in.
This is the scaling by multiplication idea. It's quite powerful.
How does that work?
You move beyond just your own business. You use the principles and structure that helped you succeed to help other business owners. You bring them into the community, the framework.
And if they commit and grow, then you potentially share in their growth too. The structure suggested was a split of their revenue share, maybe 5% to you, 5% to the overall supporting partner out of the 10% they commit.
So you're building a network, not just a single company, and stepping into that investor role.
Exactly. You're fostering a community, gaining influence, maybe even board access down the line. It's presented as the ultimate proof of maturity, being able to multiply success in others.
Wow. Okay. Not just growing, but multiplying.
And it's structured, not just goodwill. It's about building legacy and community with a clear, mutually beneficial framework based on proven principles.
So wrapping this up, thinking about everything we've dug into, what are the biggest takeaways for now? It feels like a really integrated path.
It really is. For me, it's about first recognizing and consciously working with whatever business environment you find yourself in, those energies.
Right, reading the room, basically.
Yeah. Then embracing tension and pressure, not running from them, but using them as instructors, as tools for testing your systems.
Turning problems into diagnostics.
Exactly. And finally, that relentless focus on turning every useful action, every good idea into a documented, repeatable, pressure-tested system.
Because that's what commercial readiness really means. It's not just size, it's structure.
It's being transparent, disciplined, repeatable, reliable, under scrutiny. Building your own solid infrastructure first, and then maybe, just maybe, helping others build theirs. That's the path to multiplication.
And that core mandate really sticks with me. Do not respond to pressure, build with it.
It's a fundamental shift in perspective, isn't it?
Definitely.
So the question to leave everyone with, thinking about these foundational truths, is probably this. Looking at your own business right now, what's one pressure point, one recurring idea, one observation about the current environment that you can turn into a system you commit to building and maybe even start pressure testing this week?